This is a Nice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another NHL team season preview video. 32 teams in 32 days continues here on the Ice Guys. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we go over to lovely Sweden to help us out with the Nashville Predators. Eric Delarose joining us here. You've seen him on the show a couple of times already. NHL better, coming to us from Sweden to help us talk about the Nashville Predators. And you're wondering, why did you choose Eric Delarose for the Nashville Predators? Because one of his good friends is Philip Forsberg, of course, a great NHL career with the Nashville Predators. Figured, hey, let's make Eric our Nashville Predators guest to talk a little Preds hockey. Eric, show us what you showed me and Alex before we started recording here, that apparently there's hockey going on.
Maybe we'll see a goal now.
Already, yes.
It's overtime in the Champions Hockey League.
There we go. And that's actually a very competitive the CHL is the best club teams over in Europe, so you usually get a pretty competitive tournament there. How popular, Eric, is the Champions Hockey League in Europe? How much traction has it got with just the sports fan over in Europe?
It's not that popular like the football version, but for sure it's a big thing for maybe for the small clubs. It's big, and when the playoffs is coming, there's a lot of people to the games, but there's a little bit of a preseason vibe to it because it's before the season starts. So not full houses in Sweden and Finland and those bigger countries for hockey. But the small teams are they take this opportunity to play against really good teams and match their strengths against them. So I think it's a fun thing. I played it once with my Norwegian team I played for, and we went to the playoffs. I had a really good run, so that was really fun. So it's better than playing normal preseason games.
I would say so, no doubt. You're testing your mettle against some good competition, and just you get more excited for playing games like that against quality foes, quality teams like that. Before we get into Nashville, just how's the summer been going? And I know you got a coaching upgrade, I hear, in the off season, and you're moving up the coaching ranks. Tell us about that.
The off season has been great. Had a lot of time with the family, and not so much like the preseason routines that you have when you're a player. So it's nice to have these summers without practicing every day. And for coaching, I've moved up as a junior coach this year, so that's gonna be fun to work. I'm working with a lot of same guys that I did last year because I work with under 16. So they have moved up, and also, some new guys coming here to play. So, that's going to be real fun.
Junior hockey coach Eric Delarose helping us build the next generation of great hockey players here in the world, specifically over there in Sweden. There's some pretty damn good hockey players for the Nashville Predators right now, especially after the moves made on a certain July 1st by their general manager, Barry Trotz. So a great segue into talking about the Nashville Predators. Certainly, if you're going to grade one team as far as a winner in free agency, this has got to be the team. I mean, how do you not come away absolutely impressed with what Barry Trotz was able to do with this Nashville Predators team in free agency? And I've said this to our Ice Guys audience, and Alex knows this as well already. The day after the NHL season ended, it was our recap show. And, one of the things we do in our season finale show or at the end of the year is we take an early look into the futures market for the next season. And at that point in time, I always take a look. Maybe there's a couple prices I like that I'll just bet a little bit. And the day after Florida beat Edmonton in Game 7 to win the Stanley Cup, the Nashville Predators were 30-1. And I bet Nashville plus 3,000, 30-1 to win the Stanley Cup that day. And I had no idea what they were going to do in free agency. My reasoning at that time was this is a team that definitely performed better, exceeded expectations last year. Some people didn't think they'd even be in the playoffs last year. And sure enough, they not only get in with a tremendous second half of the season, but they give the Vancouver Canucks in the first round everything they could have wanted, everything they could handle. It was a tough series for Vancouver to get past Nashville. I thought in defeat, Nashville still handled themselves very well in that series. And I thought to myself, well, if they did this in a year they weren't expected to do anything, could you imagine what Barry Trotz is thinking now? That maybe if I add some pieces to this team, we can maybe take another step, not just be a playoff team this year, but maybe even go further, go deeper. So it was just a thought on my part that he may be aggressive in free agency. I never thought he'd be this damn aggressive, though. My goodness, what a haul for Barry Trotz in free agency, bringing in the former captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Steven Stamkos, who A, I still think has a lot of good hockey in front of him, and B, is extremely motivated by being hurt and scorned the way he was by the Tampa Bay Lightning. A slap in the face with the last contract offer he was given. You don't think there's some serious motivation and extra effort in your offseason prep and training from a guy like Steven Stamkos, a very prideful player, to put forth an effort that says, hey, screw you to the Tampa Bay Lightning. You guys passed on me and lowballed me with a slap in the face type of contract offer. I'll show you with a big season ahead. And as long as health doesn't get in the way, I think you're going to see one heck of a season out of Steven Stamkos. I think this has really refueled him. This unfortunate breakup, unfortunate end to a career with Tampa Bay where he played his whole NHL career there. I expect Steven Stamkos to be a great addition, and I think he'll be supremely motivated to have a massive year, as big as he can, for the Nashville Predators. They also get another guy very familiar with winning and Stanley Cup experience, and Jonathan Marchessault from the Vegas Golden Knights. And now all of a sudden you add to a top six that, let's be honest, last year there was way too much of dependence on Philip Forsberg, your good friend, Eric, as well as Ryan O'Reilly and Gustav Nyquist on the top line. It felt like most nights they would have to carry Nashville a bit offensively. Yeah, you'd see in little bits and pieces Thomas Novak actually was pretty solid. You'd see Luke Evangelista step up. Juuso Parssinen, Phil Tomasino, Cole Smith, Mark Jankowski. They'd chip in here and there, but too much. You didn't always get enough from the second, third, and fourth line, and too much was asked of Forsberg, O'Reilly, and Gustav Nyquist. Now that you have Stamkos and Marchessault, wow, what a dynamic top six you have now for the Nashville Predators. And now all of a sudden you got Novak and Evangelista and Parssinen, capable offensive contributors in a bottom six role. It just lengthens the lineup. It just deepens the lineup. And you have so much more forward depth now, just adding two players like Stamkos and Marchessault. So all of a sudden the Predators go from, relying too much on one line last year to having four much more balanced, much more dangerous, solid lines, and they spread the offense out a little bit throughout the lineup. The blue line, you still have Roman Josi, who is almost an ageless wonder at this point. He's had one of his best seasons, honestly, last year. He keeps getting better, even though he's in his 30s now. Very impressive. Dante Fabro is one of those defensemen that's they've taken their time with him. They've been patient, and he continues to blossom into a much better, able defender on the blue line for the Predators. They add Brady Shea, another one of the big acquisitions in free agency from the Carolina Hurricanes. Tons of playoff experience, good at both ends, can move the puck, pretty solid defensively. Alex Carrier got better last year. And then you have veteran stay-at-home shutdown types as well, like a Jeremy Lauzon, like a Luke Schenn on this Nashville blue line as well. So very balanced, right? You got your puck movers like Josi. You've got defenders like Fabro. You've got obviously another puck mover with the likes of Brady Shea. And then you've got some sandpaper and physicality and shutdown ability on the blue line as well when you think of a Luke Schenn as well. So it's a very well-balanced blue line. And in net, they re-signed UC Saros long-term. They've got him, obviously, for the long run now. And I'd like to see them pace him a little bit. Give Scott Wedgwood the new backup. Of course, he is the new backup goalie here for Nashville. Give him his fair share of games, because I truly believe that a fresher UC Saros down the stretch and in the playoffs will lead to a better and more effective UC Saros once you get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I think they're fine in goal. Wedgwood had a solid season in a backup role for Dallas last year. It's a good backup option here for UC Saros this year. And like I said, when I look at this team, I look at them as deeper and better up front. I look at them as deeper and better on the blue line. And obviously, if UC Saros plays a lot like he did for a large part of last year, it's a Nashville team that not only should be back in the playoffs, obviously, but they are capable of maybe winning a round or two and threatening to be a contender coming out of the Western Conference this year. So I'm on Nashville to win the West. Nashville to win the Stanley Cup. I took both of those the day after the season at better prices. Unfortunately, the Nashville price to win the Cup's down to 15-1, 17-1 in a lot of spots. So obviously you're not getting as good of a price now. That price just steamed toward that 20 and then 15-1 range after all the moves were made. Even at the current price, I don't hate taking Nashville. I still think there might be some. I think they can be in that Colorado, Edmonton, Vegas type of mix in the Western Conference as far as contending to get out of the West and be in the Stanley Cup final this season. Alex, we'll turn to you. Nashville Predators.
Yeah, this is an impressive looking lineup. Like I said, you adding in a guy like Steven Stamkos, who 2 Stanley Cups, just an incredible career that he's already had with Tampa Bay. But now to bring that veteran presence and give him a change of scenery, which, like you said, with the way things ended, I think this is a really good move for him. And he's only 34 years of age. Yes, he's had some injury issues over the years, but this is a guy that can still give you, I think, maybe 4 or 5 quality years, I think, left in his career. And to have him paired up now, like I said, with a team that desperately needed more than just one line of offense, and then to have a Jonathan Marchessault as well, this is one of the more dangerous top 6 forward groups in all the league. And then you pair that with Roman Josi, quality top defender, who's been one of the best defensemen in the league for quite some time, Brady Shea. This is as balanced of a lineup as you have. You talk about a starting, like opening night, just starting 6th lineup. You talk about top forwards, top defensemen, and goaltender. There isn't one better than Nashville. This is the best top up to down, top line, number 1 goalie combination you're going to have in the league. That all being said, they have to produce and they have to kind of, deal with the pressure of going from team that seemed like they were going to be, playing for a lottery pick last year to now all of a sudden Western Conference contender. That's a hell of a jump to make for any franchise. And,
in 2
and
years.
The players, in 2 years, and the players can't read the press clippings, can't listen to us talk too much. They got to, go out there and play the game ultimately at the end of the day. So, you can't rest on, like I said, they don't give out awards, for what you do in free agency. They give out awards for what you do throughout the season and what you do in the playoffs. So they have the personnel now. They have the horses. They just have to put it all together. I like their over 99.5 points. That's the only future that I did play. The one caveat and the one big question mark is with goaltending, you got UC Saros. He's your guy for the next decade, essentially. But if he goes down, you have Scott Wedgwood, a guy who has been a serviceable backup for many years throughout his tenures with Arizona, New Jersey, and then Dallas. But you can't really rely on him to be a guy that's going to carry you through the West. And you had a formidable, goaltender of the future in Yaroslav Askarov, but now with this long contract signing, he gets moved to San Jose, and Magnus Krona, a guy who I was not high on at all, who was part of a log jam of some really bad goaltenders in San Jose, comes over, and he's now the 3rd option. So you need UC Saros to stay healthy. And like you said, you don't really have the strongest guy in the world to really pace him and take over for 25, 30 games in Scott Wedgwood. So that's the one thing, is that if Saros is going to be that big workhorse guy and give you 60 games solid and play well, then this Nashville team could, they go as far as he goes. But if you burn him out in the regular season, and then you try to give Wedgwood some games late, and then you try to get back to Saros, that could be problematic. So that's the one thing that I really want to see from Andrew Burnett, is how is he going to manage Saros and the goaltending time, because that's going to be imperative and crucial for Nashville if they want to have any big time long term success in this Western Conference.
That's true. The very highly thought of prospect now shipped off to San Jose means now if you get to a point where Saros gets injured and Wedgwood goes down, all of a sudden you're scrambling if you're the Nashville Predators in a big way, and that's not always what you want to be. Again, a lot has to get to that point, but still the theoretical is there that if you get down to your 3rd goalie in your depth chart, you might be in a little bit of trouble at that point if you're Nashville. But, the way I see it, I think defensively, considering that Andrew Burnett will let this team push the pace a little bit, that's the way he coaches going back to Florida. I think they'll be probably, as far as defensively, they were middle of the pack last year, goals against per game. I think they'll improve on that just a little bit, but they're still going to be a team that's going to be aggressive offensively. And when I look at that last year, Nashville still averaged 3.24 goals per game. That ranked them 10th in the NHL last season as far as goals per game, and that was with one line carrying them most of the season. Forsberg, Nyquist, and O'Reilly. Now with Stamkos and Marchessault and 4 lines of much greater depth on this Nashville team, you got to believe they could be a top 3, top 5 offensive team this year, goals for per game with the additions they've made. I think the ceiling for them to be right there with, teams like Colorado and Toronto and Dallas and Edmonton and the teams you would expect to be the highest scoring teams in the NHL, I think you would put Nashville in that category of being potentially a top 5 scoring team this year as far as goals per game with the roster they have. Eric, let's go to you. What do you think here for Nashville?
Like you said, they look a lot better overall, especially offensively. I think adding Stamkos and Marchessault is going to help them a lot. If you just take a look at like their points last year, it's that first line carrying them and Roman Josi. Then there's a big gap down to Novak and Evangelista, who had a great year last year. So it's gonna be fun to see who's gonna play, because I think they're gonna keep that first line they have last year and put Stamkos and Marchessault on one line, and who's gonna be the third guy there is gonna be fun to see how they're thinking. I'm hoping they're putting Stamkos on a wing so he can focus more on the offense than the defense.
That's the plan right now, Eric. I'm looking at their depth chart. They've got him second line, left wing right now, Steven Stamkos.
Yeah. And who did they put as a centerman there?
Sissons Sissons centering with Marchessault and Stamkos, at least as of now. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking they maybe put Novak there.
They could do that. Start. There could be a flop there. I mean, none of this is set in stone. This is just a depth chart and a current line combo thing on RotoWire. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out in training camp. But I think you could see that. You could see the roles reversed. Novak goes up to the second center spot, and Sissons goes down to the third center spot. That's a possibility.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fun to see if they, like you said, they scored a lot of goals last year, and if they can score even more this year. Like if you look at the lineup, they should be doing that. And with Brady Shea in, play him alongside Roman Josi, they can play 30 plus minutes almost every night. Except if they fall behind a game, they can maybe make them rest a little bit. But I'm expecting those two guys playing a lot of minutes, a lot of tough minutes. So very interesting team. And I'm looking, maybe not the prices as good as you got for the conference win, but I think you should look at those like spots there for conference and division. Then we're gonna see in the playoffs. It's not the most experienced team, I would say, for playoff, but they have like these guys that won before with O'Reilly, Stamkos, and Marchessault. That's gonna help them a lot. So yeah, but and some guys like Forsberg had that playoff when they went to the finals, but there's not a lot of guys left from that team, I think. And like you said, they fall, like they depending a lot on Saros. I don't think Wedgwood is like a Stanley Cup goalie, but like if you have one goalie that's like one of the best in the league and now he gets paid for that, you need to have like a worse second goalie because you can't pay too much for two goalies.
That's right.
And like they got Krona from Sharks, not NHL ready. We saw that last year, but hopefully he can have a quiet and good season in the minors and develop to maybe become as good as they expecting Askarov to be. Maybe the Askarov was like pushing to be first goalie. Maybe his agent was pushing for that, so that's why they moved him. That's what I think happened. But yeah, for sure they will have sorrows for the next 7 or 8 years for sure. So they're gonna be good in that part of the ice.
Yeah, there's as far as Magnus Krona, you brought him up too, Eric, with the goaltending. We'll have to see, but like I said, I expect him to start the season with the AHL team, the Milwaukee Admirals. And it's funny, we were talking about how Milwaukee on paper, they're going to be a contender in the AHL for the Calder Cup this year. But man, if Magnus Krona is going to be my goalie for them this year, I'd be a little bit concerned. I'm not totally sold on him. So that could open the door. We've been talking about how Chicago's farm team is going to be dangerous this year.
Iowa with the Wild.
Yeah, Iowa.
They're going to be improved. So that division in the AHL stuff.
Yeah, if Magnus Krona issues start to arise in Milwaukee this year, could open the door in the AHL and the Calder Cup for someone else this year. Something to keep in mind there with the farm team. But yeah, there's no doubt. I think we all like that. It's hard not to. I mean, what they've done. I mean, they're definitely better up front. They're going to be able to score more. They're a good over team. They're going to be a good team totals over team this year as well. The Nashville Predators, and even last year in certain instances they were, and that was with the top line carrying them. Now the top line can probably not relax too much. I mean, they're still going to need to be good scoring and offensively for them, that unit of O'Reilly and Nyquist and Philip Forsberg. But now there's not pressure on them to carry the team anymore because they know the second line can produce. They know that Thomas Novak, if he's on the third line, can center a line that can make some offensive contributions. And even if you have a guy like Philip Tomasino and who's flashed on the fourth line, could even chip in. And Luke Evangelista looks like, who was actually a blossoming young sniper last year for the Predators offensively. He might be starting the season on the third line. So it goes to the point that they should be a lot deeper and a lot stronger up front as far as scoring goals is concerned this year.
And I just wanted to kind of point something out too. We're talking about with Steven Stamkos and the whole situation of him, leaving Tampa Bay. October 28th, that's the first meeting with Nashville and Tampa Bay where Stamkos returns back to Tampa. And if you look at FanDuel, they actually have a couple of Game of the Year odds. That's one of the games that's posted. But I would beware with looking at Nashville blindly in that spot. Right now, they're plus 114 at FanDuel. But they are in that spot. They will be on the third game in 4 nights with a home game in Columbus. And then they go to Tampa with sandwiched with a home game against Edmonton. So that's an interesting spot, but certainly, obviously, all eyes will be on Stamkos in that game as he returns back to Tampa Bay.
No doubt. We've already mentioned it. The Stamkos props that first time he plays Tampa Bay. Absolutely, we're going to be interested in that. You want the one of the biggest. I'll show you revenge spots as far as player props. You want to be on some kind of Stamkos props when he plays the Tampa Bay Lightning for the first fucking time. You'd better believe it because he's going to want to make a statement.
I got a feeling I'll be on a Stamkos and Gensel goal parlay.
Yeah, that would be a good one. 100% in there with that game. And, of course, Gensel on the other side with the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is, of course, a guy that's going to be counted on to give Tampa Bay the offense that they will not any longer have from Steven Stamkos. By the way, it should be said, Steven Stamkos, it kind of felt like it was a quiet year for him, and yet he still had 42 goals and 80-plus points last year. And that was apparently a quiet season for Steven Stamkos. Now he's pissed off because of the way it ended in Tampa, and I'm sure he's betrayed, he's hurt, he's angry with what they lowballed offered him for everything he's done there. And now he goes to a team, the Stanley Cup, aspirations there, and the chance to show everyone that, hey, I've still got plenty left in the tank. So I expect Steven Stamkos to have, assuming he doesn't have any major injury setbacks, and you always worry about that. He is mid-30s now as far as his age is concerned. As long as he can avoid that, I think he's going to have a great offensive season again. And probably even north of 40.
You look how great his numbers are throughout his 16-year career, and then you look at how many games this guy's missed. This guy would be well on his way toward, 600, 700, 800 goals potentially if he hadn't missed that amount of time. Like I said, I think he still has about 4 or 5 years left in his career, and he's had a hell of a career. But like I said, if he can find his footing with Nashville, like I said, kind of get a new lease on life and still contribute 40 goals, 80 points, that's going to be a huge boost down there in the Music City.
Yeah, no question. And then Jonathan Marchessault, who we always know has elevated his game in the playoffs. If few years ago, he was more of a guy that would elevate. He'd have a good regular season. He'd take it to another level in the playoffs. Well, last year, he's coming off his best goal-scoring regular season of his career at 42 goals for the Vegas Golden Knights. So if you're going to get that version of Jonathan Marchessault, 42 goals in the regular season, Jonathan Marchessault here in Nashville, there's another weapon that's added to the arsenal offensively. Eric, before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask you, is there any futures bets or any season-long player props involving the Nashville Predators that you like?
Not that I have looked at, but it will be real funny to see if Philip can break the 50 goal scoring line, be the first Swedish player since Håkan Loob.
And God, he came close last year. So close. 48.
He was close last year. He was pushing, but maybe that could be a fun bet to have. Otherwise, for the team, I think we should look at the division for sure. Division winner.
Yep, division, conference, Stanley Cup. And you know what I like about if you want to take a shot with Philip Forsberg to hit 50 goals, that's something you can definitely find, by the way, at FanDuel, that particular prop. This is not just, okay, I want to score 50 goals because it's hitting the 50-goal plateau. No, there's something real there behind it. Like, you're trying to become the first Swedish player to score 50 goals since, as you mentioned, Hakim Loob, like long time ago. That's decades ago. That's something tangible that probably resides, maybe, especially because he tried his ass off for it last year to get to 50 and got to 48. That's something he was going to strive for. So it's not just, let's bet this player because I think he's going to hit the 50-goal plateau and it's a milestone. No, this is a milestone to be in the history books. If you're Philip Forsberg, as far as first Swede to be a 50-goal scorer in the regular season in decades.
You can lay $1.45 for him to get 40 or more goals this season, or go 7-1 for 50 or more goals. So if
I know which one I'd be doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I would probably take a shot with both. I mean, he definitely seems like, with all the pieces around him, and like I said, this is should be a top of the league power play. I can't see where he doesn't get, barring injury, where he doesn't get at least 40 goals here.
Nashville will have two of the best players in that Ovechkin position now with Stamkos and Forsberg.
Yeah, the one-time position.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they set up their power play, if they're gonna split them in two, so they have two both in different, or if they put Philip in front of the net. He's good there as well. He's really good hand-eye, and he always find a way to get the puck into the net somehow.
And so, sorry. Just to say that having a coach like Andrew Brunette, who is one of the more creative offensive coaches, that's going to be something where he can utilize and kind of, he'll have some fun kind of juggling these power plays around for sure, because you got a ton of talent. Like I said, you have to kind of manage things. There's only one puck. So to have all these different scores and these guys, they have finishing touches, you got to put them in the right positions. But I think Brunette will be able to find that.
Yeah. And one thing I think we should mention as well, we were talking about Marchessault. He had a really good season last year. And that is something to have in mind as well for Vegas this season. If Mark Stone and Eichel's going to be injured this year, they don't have Marchessault, they don't have Stevenson.
Yes.
So I think Vegas are in big trouble if they have their normal injury breaks before the playoffs.
There's some truth to that, and definitely something that I think you'll notice when we get to Vegas with the season preview videos. We're probably going to echo some of those same sentiments.
Yeah.
That forward depth, man, just a little spoiler alert, that forward depth, I'm concerned for Vegas going into this upcoming season. There's no doubt about that. And you're right, Nashville will reap the benefits of just a guy that's a proven playoff performer, plays his best in the biggest spots, coming off the best goal-scoring regular season of his career. And now he's a Nashville Predator. And with him and Stamkos now to go with that dynamic top line from last year, yes, to me, bona fide top 5 offensive team. Anything less would be a massive disappointment, honestly, for Nashville if they're not a top 5 scoring team this year in the NHL. Great stuff with Alex B. Smith and Eric Delarose talking Nashville Predators for the upcoming season as we continue along. For Alex B. Smith and Eric Delarose, thanks to him for joining us. I'm Ian Cameron. This has been the Nashville Predators team season preview video. It's 32 teams in 32 days. Continues right here on the Ice Guys.